We'll be having Ben Ellis from Jaguar Land Rover, and he will talk to us about bringing new experiences to automotive customers. Ben?
Cool. Thanks. All right, so I'm really animated and I kind of move around a lot, so I'm sorry. It's the end of the day. I know it doesn't quite fit well, but we'll kind of get it going. So I'm not quite sure how long this presentation is going to take, but I am a car guy, so at any point later on tonight when we're all hanging out and you have any questions, just feel free to come by. We've also got some of our other developers from JLR here as well. So a little bit about me. I like cars. I lead our HMI software development team at Jaguar Land Rover in Portland, Oregon. So this is where we take future user experience content and we actually prototype it, iterate it, test it with real users, and bring it to life and have a path directly leading into vehicle production. So our office in Portland, Oregon is an open software technology center. So what that means is we bring in software that's open source in a collaborative environment to create content for vehicles quickly. My goal is I want to get new ideas in our vehicle as quickly as possible. I'm sure you've seen lots of slides from a lot of people today saying it takes forever to build a car and it takes so long and there's no innovation. Well, it does take a while, but there are paths to bring content into vehicles quickly. Specifically at our site in Portland, we also have an incubator program where we bring in new startups and new ideas and we bring them into the automotive space really quickly. So with Qt, we're able to do that. We're able to provide a common development platform, even for new companies that only know automotive as 4 wheels and a motor. They can get into our vehicles really quickly and they have a path to do it. So our biggest challenge, and I can like pull quotes from everything that I've heard today, right? I want an iPad in my screen, right, is like a common thing that happens. We have a lot of tough competition, even amongst other automakers, but we also have tough competition from other consumer electronics devices. Every time a new Android or iPhone comes out, the entire user perception of how they're going to interact with the screen changes. And that's something that we have to keep up with on a day-to-day basis. So when we look at our vehicles and we want to put something in a car quickly, not only are we looking at other vehicles, but we're looking at the entire consumer electronics landscape as a whole. Now, I joke it doesn't take too long to build a car. It does take a little while, so we need to make sure the decisions that we make early and ahead of time are the right ones for when our vehicles do release, that we can stay ahead of the market. Now, I have a really big benefit. At Jaguar Land Rover, we don't produce boring cars. I'm a car guy. I get to go to work every day where we work and create new and innovative vehicles. I'll point out some of these because some of these are really ridiculous if you haven't been by a dealership in a while. This is our new Discovery. So with that, we have a connected app that you can press a button and the seats fold down. If you drive into water like this, you get an automated display that shows how deep the water is before you go into it. We have wearables that you can connect on your wrist and you can tap the trunk and it'll open up. That way if you go surfing or whatever, you have a way to do that. So these are the types of experiences that we're trying to bring to our customers. This is who we're trying to market our content for, and we're trying to bring it quickly. So when we look at challenges that we're facing, we work in a collaborative environment to create content. So we want to create new, exciting experiences for our customers. So this is my personal vehicle. When we have our UX designers go out in the woods and we want to show them how our vehicles are capable of, these are the kinds of experiences that we want to bring to our customers. And all of these vehicles now can do wheel slip angle. It can show you exactly how fast you're going, how you can perfectly go over a rock and climb over it. But our IVI is our way to interact with that system, and we need to make it easier for them to interact with it. No one's buying our car because of the FM tuner. They're buying it because they're capable of doing things like this. So the way we do that with Qt, I think, is really unique. Our first thing that we do whenever we design a vehicle in an IVI system is we first want to identify what the issue is, right? When we create that wade sensing picture of someone that's driving in water, we don't do that because we have the capability and it's something cool and it's another button and it's another feature, and that way when they go to the dealership, they have a list of buttons long of things that they can do. No, we add that functionality and that feature because there's a user that could really use it. So if we look at where our vehicles are being shipped and why people are buying them, if they're in an area where it floods, they would look at that screen and go, this would be perfect. I need to continually drive across this area where there's maybe questionable water content, and I want to be able to go across it. So we're designing experiences specifically around what our customers are going to do. And we do that by we have our designers create proof of concepts and iterate them quickly and early. So when Alistair showed that great picture of the wall, we don't have that wall anymore. We're having our designers cultivate the idea, bring proof of concepts to life, and then work on them iteratively. I always had an issue when we would have graphic designers come up and they would say, oh, I want this to move like that, and it kind of pushes around and it animates down, but it's really slow but kind of fast. And you look at them and you squint and you're like, no, I don't have enough information for that. Using Qt and QML, those designers are actually able to create those proof of concepts and to put them in a vehicle, and we're testing them with real users immediately. This is like 2 weeks into a project. We're already getting content in front of real users. Now, you've seen a lot of discussions about Qt IVI and the automotive solution, and this is where we get that first tangible feedback from that. We're able to actually produce the HMI, bring it in a vehicle, have people interact with it on an actual touchscreen, and it's all running in simulation. I mean, the vehicle that we're designing content for won't even come out for years. The system is still in development. We're still adding on new features before vehicle release. But this early on, we already have a common back-end API that we can ensure throughout the entire vehicle pipeline, even when we go all the way into production. So from a very early stage, we're testing everything directly in a real car in a simulation. And for those of you that haven't worked in an automotive environment, this is absolutely critical to do early. We show design review sessions on a whiteboard, creative sessions on a big projection. We show designs, we print them out, we paste them up. But being able to actually run them in the right touchscreen, in a position, in a car that's driving around, is incredible, the feedback that you get really early. So with Qt, we're not just putting screenshots on a screen. We're creating something that's interactive, and we're gaining feedback immediately on a project. This particular vehicle simulator, I talk about, we're working for the Open Software Technology Center. We work with groups like Genevi, so the vehicle simulator itself, the actual act of driving down a road, we actually produce that entire vehicle simulator, and it's all open source and available for collaboration. So if you do have a company that you want to get into the automotive space and you're not involved directly, we want to make sure that we have a complete way to do that. So you can create your proof of concepts in Qt. You can have a simulation environment where you can put a screen in there, have someone drive around. I mean, it's remarkable. The second someone tries to drive something and then reach out and press a favorite button or play or pause, you immediately get those feedback and you change it to create the best user experience for a customer. So now that we know that we've got the designs right, we want to continually iterate them. All of these vehicle simulations, we do automated deployment, so we want to make sure that we're continually updating. At any point during a test, we have software developers actually watching tests live. If we see bugs, we're going in, we're doing merge requests, and those systems are getting updated immediately. And we're also testing it on embedded hardware early to get those performance feedbacks and artifacts really quickly. This is all within the first month or two of a new vehicle project. And one of my favorite parts about this is, since we're working within an open source environment, we have a real easy way for collaboration. There's a ton of companies here that we work with on a day-to-day basis to get our products out the door. And to have a common development platform that any new company can come in and immediately run our embedded infotainment system on any target, any embedded, or any desktop Linux system is a huge win for us. When Alistair was talking about that SDK and building that up, that's exactly what we're looking for. We're looking to bring in new content and new technology quickly. If I see something on Engadget tomorrow of some new sensor package that was just released in this backyard right here, and we think that that can bring a benefit to our customers and what they want to do, we want to be able to bring that into a vehicle extremely quickly. And because of that, we're able to do that. So that's pretty much it. I just kind of wanted to give a very easy overview, give a lot of room for questions. We're here all week to discuss kind of what we're aiming to do, and you got a lot of feedback from it. So pretty much it. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. We have about 15 minutes for questions, and I guess you can continue later.
Great.
I have a question.
Okay.
It was very different than the last one, I promise. But so one of the biggest challenges I think facing everybody in automotive UI is that the way users interact with vehicles differs very much from user to user, and a lot of it's based upon how familiar they are with certain technologies like tablets and smartphones. So you have automotive is a much broader field in terms of customer demographic than even the mobile device market. So you have users who are the 18, 20-year-old users who have been using touch screens their whole life. They're they want to have like pinch to zoom, these kinds of things probably. And then you have ones who are later in life smartphone users, so to speak, and that there weren't smartphones around when they were younger. So they've adapted to those kinds of technologies, but it's not as second nature for them. And then you have older users who may not necessarily know. In some cases, they may know how to do that stuff, but in other cases, they may not know how to. They may not know what pinch to zoom is, and a lot of them still have a smartphone, perhaps, but they don't necessarily use the UI in the same ways that the younger users do. So I think. So do you have any thoughts on how do you reach that broader demographic? I think is a big question.
I think it comes down to separating two things. So one of them is features, and then the other one's functionality. So if we look at something like pinch to zoom, that's really just a capability to achieve a goal that someone really wants to do. So for us, when we're starting on new HMI for a vehicle, we're looking at what exactly does someone want to achieve. So a great example would be if I get in a car, it's 4 p.m., I want to go home. How is my car going to get me to go home? And if we break it down from that small of a building block and tackle it that early on, then it fits a wider range of a demographic. Because at that point, we're only focused on what exactly does the customer want to do, and we give them the best experience to do that. And we do all of our user testing, and we do all of our user experience design. That's the continual thread throughout that entire project. We're not designing it based upon necessarily demographics or based upon the current trends in the consumer electronics market. At that point, we're trying to understand what our customers are doing and give them the best product that's going to enable them to do it at the end of the day.
More question? Oh.
Do you find these kind of IVIs at odds with mobile solutions like CarPlay, where you're trying to, have your experience and other companies are trying to create a separate experience that overlays with that?
So that's a great question. So right now the trend, and we do have some customer needs, that the market is leaning towards plugging in devices and just bringing that experience in there. And part of that reason why a lot of consumers want that today is because the automotive industry hasn't given them the experiences that they're looking for. So if we start a little step back and we understand more of what our customers are looking for just from the very beginning of a system of getting in a car, that's kind of where we start at. So in some solutions, the answer might be to plug in their phone and bring in all that data that's on their device that they carry with them everywhere. So as an example, we currently have a system where you can begin navigation on a phone, plug it in, you get in a car, it shows the navigation on the car, you unplug the phone, and it takes you the rest of the way, and that's your door-to-door navigation. So in that, we started with a simple question of how do users get from point A to point B even before they get in a car? And that was the solution that we had for that overall experience. So that's really where we're focusing on. We now have the technology and the capability to produce the right solution at the right time. So we really focus first on what exactly is someone trying to do, and then we're going to tailor the solution for them. And it might be a plug-in device, it might be Android Auto or Apple CarPlay, but really it's centered around what our customers are going to be doing in our vehicles.
Yes.
Sort of a continuation of that question. One of the big game changers that iPhone brought to the tech world was the App Store. Mm-hmm. I wasn't limited to just what came on the phone. I could get so many things that didn't come on the phone.
Mm-hmm.
Do you anticipate anything like that for the automotive industry, where I'll say, I'm not stuck with just what the manufacturer gives me by default, but I'll be able to say download new apps that have nothing to do with what the manufacturer did himself did?
Yeah, that's a great question. So our current vehicles, we have a new system called In-Control Touch Pro. That's actually able to download new apps today. If you buy a new vehicle, you can get new apps that are coming out. We're a British car manufacturer, so when Wimbledon is going on, we actually produce applications for our vehicles in the UK where they will download a new app and it'll show Wimbledon scores. And that's part of our Open Software Technology Center, is we want to make sure that we create an environment for people to bring their ideas into the vehicle. So when we work with a common open source technology like Qt, we have a development platform where users can try it out. So part of the Geneva work that we collaborate in with other auto manufacturers is we create a stable environment that can be shared amongst different manufacturers. So at that point, someone could create an app for all the different member companies, and then it's just fine tailoring for very specific vehicle manufacturers for certain features.
Another interesting question. There's a lot of different kind of niche customers in the automotive market. Like your video there was of a customer driving through like rugged terrain. Kind of like, the off-roading sort of customer, let's say. And then there's the battery electric vehicle customers, and there's customers with other sorts of specialty needs like that. And how do you what would you say are your best practices in terms of connecting in a meaningful way to customers that actually are users and can give you useful feedback? Because I think one challenge is if you go to a general user, they're not going to have the insight into what they need for those kinds of specialty cases, and they may like some features that the actual users won't like, and not have the sort of insight into what's wrong with the features of things that the customers that are actual niche customers will know. But on the flip side, it's hard to find the niche customers, right? So,
yeah, for sure.
So what kind of best practices do you have for that?
So for us, we really focus on the core user experience first and what's going to fit the breadth of our customers. Now, for our brands, for Land Rover, we do have a lot of capability, and then for Jaguar, we have a lot of performance. So we really focus on a breadth of features and functionality, making it easy to use for a majority of our users. Particularly for our off-road features, I mean, that was actually me driving my personal vehicle up that hill. So when we want to test for like those specific types of users, I'm just in like Land Rover clubs and stuff like that. So we actually get our current customers out to our facility, and they provide feedback on those very specific types of features and functionality that we're looking to get feedback on. So at every aspect that we want to put in our HMI, it's tested for those users that we're looking for.
Networking stuff, it sounds like kind of your ideas.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or stuff like that.
Yeah.
No. Okay. More questions? Oh, one question.
You mentioned you have an open source vehicle simulator. Is that right? Is that just something you can get from like the website or something?
Yeah, it's actually through the Geneva group, Genivi, and I can give you a card with some more information on it.
Great.
From there, we have all of our projects on GitHub, and they're publicly accessible, so you can download the entire project. It's called Freeride. So it has 3 different scenarios. So there's a city driving, there is a city, coastal, and then a forest. And we introduce some content that's specific for us, so we keep track of lane deviations and task-based approach. So if someone is driving down the road and they go out of their lane, or they run a red light or a stop sign, we actually track all those infractions. That way when we do user testing and someone reaches over and tries to call someone and they drive out of their lane, we can log that more easily, and we add that to the capability. It supports single monitor setups with a simple steering wheel, or ours is a really complex Range Rover that we took everything out of, and we put custom steering wheels and our custom screen strategies in there, and a full 3D wraparound projection screen. So it accommodates a wide variety of uses. Yes, it does. Yep.
Are you using game engine for this open source simulator?
That one's developed using Unity.
Yeah. And we have access to all the assets and
Yep.
the scripting and everything.
Yeah, we did some really awesome 3D models for our vehicles as well.
Nice.
You get really cool Jag models on that one.
Okay, thank you.
The upcoming NHTSA requirements in terms of distracted driving and stuff like that, while it may not be quite finalized, but the obviously that's going to bring a lot of changes to the infotainment space, and that you can't have, you know, a lot of types of innovations you can't do while the user's driving, and things of that nature, font sizes, control sizes, these things. I guess, do you see that as something that's better dealt with at like OEM level, or at you know, lower level, like maybe QT, or in terms of these automotive SDKs and stuff like that, that there's open source tools for?
I think for that it really comes down to testing content early. So the reason why the NTSA is doing those types of restrictions on it is because there was free wild abandon for all these screens that we're putting in our cars. So for us, we meet the guidelines, and then in a lot of cases we exceed them, because we're focused early on making sure that we're producing a safe, easy-to-use experience in a vehicle. So I think it really comes down to understanding the needs, and you're taking in those responsibilities very early in the design phase for all this content.
Okay, I guess we're done. Thank you very much.
Cool.